We're making a little blinking LED button, and we're gonna just get all the components ready. So as you can see, we've got this code to type up. We filled in the things we gotta do, and there we go. We've clicked our little Arduino thing. We're going to check it and verify that the code is correct, and then upload it to the machine. And let's see what happens when we click this button. Nice. So this is just a simple hello world code. We're gonna be using the serial button at the top right over here to just kind of essentially debug the code. So when you click serial monitor, it either turns on or off this little window, and so now you can see what your code would do if you ran it. That's pretty cool. Now this challenge seems a little bit more interesting. We're talking about duty cycle, which is gonna be like how long this light is on versus how long it's off, or the intensity of the colors. Notice how it says button out 7, and we're starting our count at -1, but essentially what it's going to do is we're counting by ones, and we're going to switch through these different things: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So every time we click the button, it's going to put a new button count in here. That's the map. And then it'll also give us some other numbers here. So like whatever number it is, let's say 153, and then 0, 255, 0, 100. And I guess that these are the coordinates. Oh, it would make sense. So this is the x-axis. This starts at 0. This is the origin. And so it's x, and then here's the y-axis. 0, 100%. And that's how this works. So we got our code all printed out, and we have the Arduino plugged in. And I think we're just going to compile the code and then upload it to the little computer. Woo. And then let's go ahead and see what happens if we try clicking this button. See what happens. So, whoa, click it one at a time.
You can measure between this one and this one.
Yeah, look, you see it gets brighter every time. And then at some points it turns off. You click it again, there we go, so we did it right. That's exactly what we thought was gonna happen. Isn't that cool? In this one, we're going to be using a potentiometer, and we're going to be sort of, I guess, increasing or decreasing the strength of the LED light by twisting this little knob right here. We've got our circuit board set up, and we plugged in the numbers. These are supposed to be where all the pins are set in. And then this is going from, like, we're using this analog read function. So it's going to read the voltage of this particular potentiometer or something. And then it's going to, if the voltage is low, it's going to shine a low light. If the voltage is medium, it'll kind of be a medium light, and if the voltage is high, it'll be like a high light or something like this. You can kind of see what's happening here. So we got a little code here, and we are going to compile it and then upload it, and then we're going to try to see what happens. If we turn this little knob, it's going to go red, green, and turn different colors based off of where the knob is. That's pretty cool. So I've done some calculations based off these 2 resistors that are going to be in series. And we have some that are maybe 10,000, some that are 330, and a couple of different scenarios here that we're going to try to test out and see if we get the correct readings based off of our theoretical calculations. I guess we're going to be reading the voltage from the Arduino, and it's going to use this function, like analog valve or something. And then we're going to plot it against this 1023. And then once we have that number digitalized here, we're going to like convert it to volts by using the analog converters. Awesome. So for the first experiment, we've connected R1, 10,000, and R2, 330. That's going to be these two. And then we are going to test the voltage. Clicking the serial button, and we get a reading of 103, and they've converted it to 0. Now we know it's not really 0, so we're going to use our calculator to convert that. What was the voltage from the Arduino?
5.
5. And then what was the, from 0 to the analog was?
0 to 1023.
1023. So technically we want to divide the 5 by 1023 and see how many, like if we had one reading from our analog, it would give us 0.005. We've got a reading of about
103.
103. And so if we plug that in here and we say times 103, then we get a actual voltage of about 0.5. And so that's what we would put right here. Cool. So now we've swapped our resistors, we've got them switched up, and then we're gonna rerun the experiment and see what value we get. So we get a value of about 978, and they converted it to 4, but we're gonna use our calculator. What was the value they gave us?
978.
978?
Yep.
That's gonna be more like 4.7. Oh, that's pretty close to what we calculated over here. 4.78. The last experiment is gonna be 300 and 300. We've set that up, and we've got a reading about 530. Let's see, 5 divided by 10.3. And then when we multiply that by 530, we get 2.6 or so. Wow, that's like really close to our values here that we had, 2.59. So, pretty interesting experiment. Now in this challenge, we're gonna be doing the smart night light. So we're setting up this whole complicated circuit here. We've got a little light shining there. The idea is that now we're gonna be sensing whether something is covered or uncovered. So we've pretty much figured this out. Over here, we're just randomly declaring these two variables, brightness and dark threshold. Later, we're going to be changing the value of brightness by reading the photosensor pin, and then that's going to give us some new value, where whatever the light is. So if I'm covering it, it's going to give me, you know, different value. So here I'm going to cover it, and you can see how the value is going to change down there at the bottom. If I go below 300, the dark threshold is 300. So if I go below 300, it's going to say good night. So I'm covering up the pin over here. So we're getting readings below 300. But if I go above 300, then you can see how it's going to be morning again. The light is going to shine through because it's going above the threshold of here. You can see how it's comparing brightness to the dark threshold. So when we cover up the sensor, we start getting a shining light there, and it says good night. And then when we let go, then the light turns off, and it basically says rise and shine. Now this challenge is kind of interesting. We're going to be using a knob to control a little servo, and we've kind of already hooked it up the way it needs to be done. So you can kind of see this jumbled mess right here. So we're technically going to be using this code here, and we've sort of downloaded the servo H include thing, and now we can access it by using the servo main.write thing and stuff like that. We've got a couple of variables that we're declaring up here. The angle is important because we're going to be reading some value from the analog, like the potentiometer thing, which is a little knob. So we're going to be reading that knob's value, and then we're going to convert it using the map. It's going to give us some value between 1 and 1,000. We're going to convert it to some angle, which is going to be 0 to 180. And then we're going to write that angle onto the servo. And when we run our code and compile it and turn the knob, guess what happens? Yeah, we can control this. So that's pretty cool.